Well, good Friday morning, everyone. And it is a good Friday. I'm going to be sharing another highlight of our trip out to Summerlin, Nevada a couple weeks ago. That's what we've been doing the last few days. I hope you've enjoyed that. But our real highlight was the Sunday. And we went to the church that we often go to when we go there, which is called now called Central Church. It was formerly Central Christian Church. The pastor is Judd Wilhite, who has spoken at Saddleback a few times. We love that church. I'm going to show you a highlight of the church so that you can get a feel for what we experienced. But first, let me just remind you that this Sunday, Saddleback, we will be meeting in Clubhouse 2. Clubhouse 2, not 5. We will have our breakfast and normal food, same, over at Clubhouse 2. I hope you'll join us. Well, I want to show you this little clip about Central Church, and you will meet Judd Wilhite if you haven't heard him speak at Saddleback, and you'll get a feel for our church experience. And then when we come back, I'm going to tell you about an amazing thing that happened after that on Monday pertaining to us going to church. Watch this.
Thank you, Drew. So grateful for you guys and so grateful for all of you. Hope you're doing well. Good to have you here. You survived another week. Congratulations. And I'm honored that you're here with us today. You know, we have a little puppy at our house, and recently she kind of got stuck. And she was behind this little playpen area that we've set up for her. The gate was open, but she was stuck behind it. And, you know, she just kept looking at me like, you got to get me out of here. I'll show you a little picture so you understand what I'm talking about. Like the gate's open, all she needs to do is back up or go forward just a little bit. Like she's totally free, but she's completely confused and stuck in this moment. And she went back for a little bit, then she went forward a little bit, and eventually she gave up and just sat down. And she's looking at me like, dude, are you gonna open this up for me or not? Are you just gonna stand there and stare at me? Can't you see that I'm stuck? And I tried to get her to move. I even got treats out, you know, all the things that you try to do to get your dog to like dial in, but she was, in her mind, completely stuck. And when I finally rescued her, I thought, you know, I'm a lot like our little puppy, Stella. I think many times in my own life, I've gotten stuck. And sometimes I'm praying for God to open a door. Some of you right now, you're praying for God to open a door. You know what I'm talking about. God, open a door in our marriage, open a door at work, open a door in my career. God, open a door. And you're crying out to God, open a door, open a door, open a door. And maybe what God wants to do is open our heart and open our eyes. Because the limitations that we're facing may be self-imposed. Hello. Sometimes we're like, God, open a door, and God's like, first I got to open your heart because you're not ready to walk through that door. And once your heart is ready, then you can walk through the door. And so here's Stella in this moment, trapped. I finally get her out, and I'm like, man, I'm a lot like her.
So did you enjoy the 3-minute little clip that we watched together? Well, we love Judd Wilhite, and we always learn from him. It's awesome. Of course, we like our church better. I have to add that. We really do. And loving getting to know Pastor Andy and Stacy too. So now we had that experience on Sunday, and on Monday, because when I'm away, I end up reading far more than I do when I'm at home. That's part of the reason we go away. but I was reading this book by Lee Strobel called The Case for Grace, Lee Strobel. And I was really enjoying it, and I took it out. I had already started it. And then on Monday, I took it out by the pool to sit down and read. And here's what I read. This was chapter 3. I had already read the first 2. His heart racing, his body soaked in sweat, his mind dazed and disoriented, the teenager slowly regained consciousness. He wasn't sure where he was. It took every ounce of his energy just to crawl out of bed. There in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. Gaunt, sunken eyes, detached expression. After the cocktail of drugs he had consumed, he was a little surprised that he was still alive. And that's when he proceeded to do something that only another addict could fathom. He mixed his remaining stash of drugs, drew a breath, and plunged the needle into his arm once again. I might die, he mused, and I'm okay with that. If anyone needed God's help, it was this 17-year-old Texan. After 4 years of descending into a hell of cocaine and amphetamines, he was rushing headlong toward an early death. When I read that chapter, because this book is about people who God touched, who brought them, well, it's about God's grace. Because we don't deserve favor from God, but he bestows it. And these amazing stories in this book just made my heart touch for them. Many times as reading through it, I had tears in my eyes. But the thing that was amazing about reading this chapter on Monday is that as you read further, chapter 3 of this book was about Judd Wilhite. That was the story of the pastor we were blessed by the day before. What's the chance that we didn't know his story or where he came from? And as I continued reading that chapter, it's amazing how he moved from, that was in Amarillo, Texas. He moved from there to Las Vegas, and it was in Las Vegas he was really touched. And God's grace reached down and brought him out of those depths. And not only saved his life, but of course led him eventually to found Central Church. And today it's a huge church with campuses all over Las Vegas. They had 27,000 people attend on this last Easter. And it's a church that reaches, of course, that is big in Celebrate Recovery and big in reaching the homeless population of their area, big in touching the poor. Oh, I tell you, I just couldn't believe that God, well, I could believe that God would do that for Pastor Judd. That's how he brought him to this stage of his life. But I'm in awe. And I just am so thankful for that church and that ministry. So I wanted to share it with you, my friends, here on Inspiration for Today. God's grace shines on all of us. And God has blessed us in so many ways, different from maybe many of the stories in this book, but just as real to you and I, and he has brought us from darkness into light. Hey, God bless. I hope to see you on Sunday worshiping in Clubhouse 2 this Mother's Day. God bless. See you then. San, see you back on Monday as we start a new week together. Walk closely with your Lord.
And I won't worry about tomorrow.